Clint Bowyer is getting back behind the wheel, and Front Row Motorsports confirms they've purchased a third charter. Who fills those seats? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Next month, actually in just a couple weeks, the NASCAR Cup Series will head to Iowa Speedway for the first time ever. This week, Goodyear is conducting a tire test, and it didn't take long for images to surface of a freshly repaved turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Partially freshly repaved turns, I should say, just the bottom lanes primarily with a fresh dark coat of asphalt, drawing mixed reviews to say the least. We discussed this yesterday, but Christopher Bell does not sound too optimistic, fears it will be tough to pass, while Brad Keselowski said the track still seemed to have much of the character it used to. Keselowski with more of a glass half full approach. Ryan Blaney, who's not at this tire test, shared this on X. This was his reaction to the Iowa Speedway repave. Yeah, that's very accurate actually, because they only repaved half the turns. That is questionable, to say the least. Gosh, I really hope we don't see one groove right around the bottom, because if that's the case, with this car, there will be zero passing. It'll be Martinsville Spring 2022 all over again. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I am keeping my fingers crossed. Let's move on. Yesterday, Spire Motorsports made the shocking announcement that Clint Bowyer is coming out of retirement to drive the number 7 truck at Nashville Super Speedway next month. And Bowyer will reunite with crew chief Brian Patty. What is this blast from the Michael Waltrip Racing past? The best year of Clint Bowyer's Cup Series career was easily 2012. He was teamed up with Brian Patty that year, won a handful of races, was in championship contention, had a legitimate shot at the championship until probably the second to last race of the season when Jeff Gordon happened. But still, the Bowyer-Patty pair had good success, especially during those years at Michael Waltrip Racing, so pretty cool to see them teaming back up nearly a decade later. And at Nashville Super Speedway, of all places, I went back and looked up Clint Bowyer's Xfinity Series statistics back in the day at Nashville Super Speedway. We're talking like mid-2000s. Clint Bowyer has made like 9 starts at Nashville and has never finished worse than 5th. 9 straight top 5 finishes, including a win. That's insane. Clint Bowyer has not raced in NASCAR since 2020, so we'll see how quickly he picks back up on a few things. That 7 truck is obviously very competitive. Kyle Busch has won in that truck twice this year. Spire has looked really strong. Raja has a win. Nick Sanchez, who Rev Racing gets their trucks from Spire, he's got a couple of wins, so he'll be in good equipment. He has a veteran crew chief atop the box. I can't wait to see what Clint Bowyer does next month. That will be some good, juicy content. Oh, and before we get off this topic, happy birthday to Clint Bowyer. I believe he turns 45 years old today, so what a coincidence. Great timing. Finally, let's finish things up with Front Row Motorsports, wasting no time. Less than 24 hours after Stewart-Haas announced they would be closing up at year's end, Front Row announces they've purchased a third charter. The timing is no coincidence. According to reports, this is one of the Stewart-Haas charters they are purchasing. I haven't seen a dollar amount reported anywhere. That could remain private. But here was the statement released by Front Row Motorsports yesterday. From owner Bob Jenkins, "We have a very positive outlook on the future of NASCAR, and as the sport plans for success, so do we. Today, that means having a plan for expanding back to 3 cars in the NASCAR Cup Series. I always have the vision to continue to grow and improve our team, and that commitment and desire never changes. I'm committed to the sport and its passionate fans and partners." Then from general manager Jerry Freese, quote, "Starting a new team from scratch is always a challenge, but with the opportunities in front of us, the talent we have in our leadership, and a bit of a runway to get there, I'm confident that we can produce 3 competitive programs out of the box for the 2025 season. We haven't lost sight of what our goals for 2024 are, to get our teams into the playoffs for both series. If we can keep up the speed on track and have a little bit of luck come our way, we can achieve our objectives." Front Row purchasing a charter from Stewart-Haas is not surprising, but man, how quickly the mood changed. Tuesday was somber with a massive, once championship contending team announcing this is the end, to now Wednesday, and even today, Thursday, some hope injected back into this world. Front Row says, hey, we like the direction NASCAR is headed. We are committed to the future. They've got that new technical alliance with Penske, closer relationship with Ford. They're a key partner organization. Here's a team that's building towards something great. Once a start and park organization many years ago, now has made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years and is now building towards a more competitive future. So some optimism, some excitement, some hope on the Front Row Motorsports side of things. This means Front Row Motorsports will have 3 full-time cars in the NASCAR Cup Series next year. Their Truck Series program will also continue to operate. Just a side note worth mentioning. All signs indicate Todd Gilliland will continue to drive for the team. He's having the best year of his career, 22nd in points, which would be by far a career best. The question is those other 2 charters. My guess is that both will be filled by drivers who currently race in the Stewart-Haas Racing stable. Stewart-Haas has 6 drivers, 4 Cup, 2 Xfinity, that are now likely looking for new opportunities next year. I think 2 of them end up with Front Row Motorsports, but which 2? Let's start with Chase Briscoe. In my opinion, of those 6 Stewart-Haas Racing drivers, he is the closest to becoming a championship contender. I believe he will end up with the Wood brothers. That's effectively a 4th Penske car, a Penske satellite team. Penske has won back-to-back championships. Their cars are fast. The Wood brothers have proven they can be a playoff team when the right driver is in the seat. I don't think anything's been signed. I'm not even sure if they've had any real talks at this point, but I believe Chase Briscoe to the Wood brothers makes a ton of sense. So for the sake of this video, let's take Chase Briscoe off the board. According to reports, Noah Gragson has drawn interest from several NASCAR Cup Series teams. But the only team that's been named by any reporters is Richard Childress Racing. Now, RCR would likely need to acquire their own 3rd charter, as The Athletic reports Austin Dillon is in the midst of a multi-year deal, and Kyle Busch has said he's coming back next year. So if RCR brings the 33 to Cup full-time, that could be a spot for Noah Gragson. Bass Pro Shops, that sponsorship connection, that makes some sense. Otherwise, I could see Front Row being a legit contender to land Noah Gragson. 5 top 10 finishes this year. He's starting to show some of that upside we saw in the Xfinity series. I think he's a contender for one of these 2 Front Row Motorsports seats. What about Josh Berry? I've been on this for a few days and I have no inside information here. This is just a theory. But what if Josh Berry and Rodney Childers are some sort of package deal? See, there's a lot of talented people who currently work at Stewart-Haas Racing who will be looking for new jobs next year. Perhaps at the very top of that list, though, is Rodney Childers, a former championship crew chief. He's a veteran who has experience working with Ford. He's been with a key partner organization for many years. He understands how to dissect all that data. He's a huge Josh Berry cheerleader. If I'm Front Row Motorsports, still a new team who hasn't been competitive for all that long and is now building, is expanding, Rodney Childers would be the perfect guy to bring in as a crew chief, a competition director, you name it, to help this team be fast right out the gate in 2025. And Rodney might come over if you sign a Josh Berry. He seems to really like Josh. They've been running well lately. They seem to gel. So Josh Berry could be a legit candidate for one of those front row seats, especially if he has ties to Rodney Childers. That duo, again, has finished top 15 in 4 straight races, back-to-back top 10s, including a 3rd at Darlington. They're getting better this year. I'd be interested in bringing that duo in-house if I was Front Row. Unfortunately, I do think Ryan Preece is the odd man out. It's unclear what kind of funding he brings to the table. United Rentals has sponsored, I think, 5 races this year, but the majority of his schedule has been sponsored by Haas Tooling. He's 28th in points. I know that 35-point penalty dinged him a bit. He's only got 1 top 10 finish, 0 laps led. I know Ryan Preece can drive race cars, but it just hasn't worked consistently in Cup. Let's talk about those Xfinity Series drivers. See, it sounds like Stewart-Haas Racing is shutting down completely, but I do continue to hear chatter that their Xfinity Series program may remain in some capacity. If that's the case, I think that's where Riley Herbst ends up. Riley Herbst obviously brings some cash to the table. Is it Cup Series money or just good Xfinity Series money? That I'm not so sure. Riley Herbst, I'll just be blunt, would need to write a pretty big check because I do not believe he has Cup Series talent. He missed the Xfinity Series playoffs last year. Look, I know that the cars literally fell apart on him there towards the end of the regular season, but still, you can't miss the playoffs the same year your teammate goes on to win the whole damn thing. Riley Herbst is in his 5th full year of Xfinity Series competition. He has been in top equipment that entire time. He has 1 win, albeit a dominant win at Las Vegas, but just one win to his name. He's not Cup Series talent. So that leaves Cole Custer. His father, Joe Custer, works closely with Gene Haas, could still be involved with a NASCAR organization somewhere, somehow. Custer himself has a Cup Series win on his resume, 2020 Kentucky. He's the defending Xfinity Series champion. I think Custer is an interesting talent. I think he has some interesting industry connections, again, knowing who his father is. Can he leverage all that into another legit full-time Cup Series opportunity? I think it's possible, and I think his best shot to go Cup racing is easily with Front Row Motorsports. That's my prediction for next year. I think Cole Custer will take over the number 34 in the NASCAR Cup Series, effectively replacing Michael McDowell. Let's hope Love's travel stop stays signed on, because if so, that's huge. I think Cole Custer ends up in the 34. We know Todd Gilliland will be in the 38. Let's assume they bring back the 36. I think it's between Noah Gragson and Josh Berry. I think Josh Berry, especially with that Childers connection, makes a ton of sense, can really help build that organization from within. It sounds like there are several other teams interested in Gragson. Front Row may lose that bidding war. If they end up with Josh Berry, that's not a bad consolation prize. Question with Berry is, of course, funding. What kind of sponsorship does he bring? But if he has the right connections, again, that's valuable. So my early prediction is Cole Custer in the 34. I think Josh Berry in the 36, and then Todd Gilliland likely stays in the 38. So that's what I think right here, right now, at the end of May. Long way to go until the green flag flies in 2025. Leave a comment down below. Is there a driver we didn't mention who could swoop in to take one of those front row seats? They don't have to pick from Stewart Haas's group of drivers. I just think that's the easiest place to look. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more NASCAR content and commentary every single day. And a huge thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. It has been a very busy week. Be sure to check out my channel in case there's any news, any episodes you may have missed. We've covered an awful lot of ground. I will see you again very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday, folks.